So we're going to start with Jayden Daniels. Real, maybe boring pick, but I'm going to say it's not boring because I don't care where you're selected. It's still hard. And his situation, I love. I feel like it has been embraced from the start. The city has embraced him, new coach, new GM, who Adam Peters, this is his first crack, first shot. He gets to get a franchise stamp quarterback coming from San Fran, who we know where they've tried and whiffed. And he was a part of those whiffs, but that's a good thing too. Like, let's see if he's learned. And I feel like they wanted him. They felt good about him from the start. And then you have Dan Quinn. You could tell he wanted another shot at a head job. You could just see it. It always felt like he was bursting out of it. He wanted out of Dallas anyway. They know it. I mean, he wanted to be a head guy. Here it is in the big city. And Jayden Daniels, his story, I think we've talked about it. He was always my second rank from the start. I only thought there were 2 first-rounders really worthy, and he was the second one other than Caleb Williams. So I think he is actually, I know it's crazy to say a second pick. Yes, he should be set up for success. I really think he's set up for success. Like this organization. Oh, and I should have started with this, maybe the number one thing. They got rid of that owner. So the core 4 could actually be in place for the first time, in my opinion, for Washington in a long time. You have an ownership that, let's hope they stay out of the way. I mean, I think so far that's their plan. Spend the money, they'll do. Peters and Quinn are synced up, GM, head coach, and you got your rookie franchise guy. Now he has to perform to make that, to be the core quarterback, but it's set up for Washington to make that run.
I know we talk about ownership all the time on this show, but for good reason.
It matters.
It matters. It matters so much, and it's not discussed nearly enough because they're not out there. They're not speaking publicly. They own these teams, so I guess they can do whatever the hell they want, but they're not mandated to talk, and they don't feel the need to talk. So a lot of these decisions are being made by the owner, yet there's no accountability for said owner. Right. And you mentioned Dan Snyder. I'm thinking back to Wayne Haskins, RIP, right? But a terrible pick and was forced onto the field. And I believe Dan Snyder was the driving force behind Haskins being the quarterback and being the face for the Washington Redskins at that time. Again and again and again. It's no coincidence that the 2 teams that have not made an NFC championship game since 1995 are the Washington Redskins football team Commanders and the Dallas Cowboys. Awful ownership in very different ways. We spent a lot of time talking about Dallas a couple weeks ago, but you're right. The fact that Washington has new ownership, we'll see. It's got to be better, right? You can only go up. And we'll see Josh Harris and his group, how they kind of manage things. It's open-ended. The coaching search was interesting, right? A lot of reporting on all sides of that one came out after the fact. But they got Dan Quinn, Cliff Kingsbury, Anthony Lynn. This does strike me as a good coaching staff. And Jayden Daniels is their pick of quarterback. They didn't waste any time. You were in that position where if you've got a new coach, there might be that tendency to, let's wait at quarterback. Let's let our culture be installed and move on from whatever the past was and address quarterback. But no, they believed in Jayden Daniels, so they took Jayden Daniels. My question for you is this. Who's his comparison? Because Herm Edwards, who coached him at Arizona State, we had it at Go Long. He thinks that this guy's Randall Cunningham, which I bring up Randall Cunningham because that was a conversation we had on the back deck over the weekend, right? But okay. He sees a 6'4", strong-armed, athletic playmaker that can do a little bit of everything. And look, Herm Edwards didn't even see the best of Jayden Daniels. Like Jayden Daniels really took off when he was with LSU, obviously. But I kind of know what you're going to say, but hit on that Cunningham-Daniels comparison, whether it fits or not.
I love the compare. I do. We're going to go. I love that Randall Cunningham's coming up right now because Tyler, your brother, wore a shirt to the party on Sunday, a T-shirt with Bryce Paul, with a Bills Bryce Paul. But defensive end for linebacker for the age, wherever we are listener wise. Bryce Paup was a 90s. Okay.
Defensive player of the year.
Now, I grew up, as you did, a Green Bay Packers fan, and I grew up in central Pennsylvania. It made no sense. We've talked about James Lofton was my favorite player. Okay. Bryce Paup, I was not a Philadelphia Eagles fan. So Bryce Paup as a Green Bay Packer was blamed for injuring Randall Cunningham. There was a big controversy about it. So anyway, it took me back seeing that jersey. And then here you are bringing up Herm Edwards comparing Daniels to Randall Cunningham. So Randall, we know, was a long-armed, just whip it quarterback and run. You know, he wasn't quick release. That release, when you watch his highlights, it's cringeworthy how long his release is. Everything about him was long. He was a long strider. He wasn't a make you miss runner, which Jaden Daniels, to Herm Edwards comparison, is a straight line. He has a little more shape to him than Randall, but we talked about it. He does take shots, and has a frame like Randall where he's longer, not like a running back, like not thick like a running back, more like a linear quarterback. Okay. So the comparison is good to me. He was around both, so I'm not going to sit there and say that's not a fair comparison. What I like about his playmaking skill set, Tyler, it's Lamar. It's Lamar. He's going to beat you with his arm, beat you with his legs. It's that simple for me. He is an absolute nightmare. Simple as that. It is. I really think he's Randall. He's Lamar. He's the guy that we talk about all the time that the other team's defensive coordinator is going to lose sleep at night. He doesn't depend on his legs. That's what I love about these quarterbacks. Lamar, they don't need, their legs are, yes, that's their gift that we can't relate to. Most people that play football, almost everybody cannot relate to them to have that gift. But those guys don't rely. They are so good throwing the football at this point. They're just nightmares. So yeah, Randall, Lamar.